Okay, so let's talk about torts. Believe it or not, I can teach a whole course on this one chapter. Now, basis for tort law, where did it come from? Well, tort law is defined as, or is designed to compensate those who have suffered a loss or injury due to another person's wrongful act. Now, the purpose of it is to provide remedies for the invasions of various protected interests. And keep in mind, this is on the civil side. Okay, damages. Right. So let's just let's pull out the action figures. We have He-Man. Okay, and we have Leonardo. Clearly, He-Man could just the heck out of Leonardo, no problem. But does Leonardo have damages? Okay, that's what you always got to think about when you think about tort law. Are there damages? Okay. Now, with that said, what type of damages are available to our good friend Leonardo for He-Man, knocking the fool out? Well, you have compensatory damages, and these are designed to compensate you. It's just that easy. Compensatory, compensate. Okay. You have special damages. And when we talk about special damages, you're probably thinking, oh, these are special damages, like they don't mean much. But believe it or not, these are actually important. These are monetary losses, medical expenses, lost wages, benefits, loss of irreplaceable items. Okay? So if Leonardo, after getting beat up by He-Man, isn't able to work, should He-Man compensate Leonardo for his lost wages? Sure. Okay? Those would be compensatory damages. Now, we also have general damages. Non-monetary aspects of harm suffered from pain and suffering, loss of companionship, loss of consortium, disfigurement, loss of reputation. Believe it or not, folks, these are real damages. Okay? Pain and suffering is real. If Leonardo's shell were to break, i.e. his back, or his ribs, folks, that's real pain that you have to endure. Okay? Loss of companionship, loss of consortium. These obviously, you could probably chuckle a little bit when you think about these, but these are real damages. And these are real life things that I argue for my clients whenever we're talking about tort damages. Disfigurement. Worked on cases where a guy messed up his hand and it was all had rods all in it and wasn't able to use it. Those are real damages. Loss of reputation. Folks, at the end of the day, all you have is your name. Okay? Now, punitive damages, not like punitive damages. These are designed to punish. Punitive, punish. Okay? Punishes the wrongdoer to deter others from similar wrongdoing. And you've seen some of this. I think the book mentions the McDonald's case. That's a classic case. Lady was, given several $1 million, and through appeals and whatnot, it came down. They finally settled it. But those are designed to punish the wrongdoer and to act as a deterrent to other individuals so that they don't commit the same tort. Now, tort reform. Now, this is one of those you can fall on either side of the argument. Okay, but critics argue that the current tort law system encourages trivial and unfounded lawsuits. Heard about a case where I think someone tried to sue Starburst or Nestle for their Starburst, and they were eating the candy and it pulled a filling out. Come on. There's arguments that it drives up the cost to the consumer. Now, there's some truth to that. All right, because of these judgments that companies are having to pay out, certainly they're going to increase their prices so that they can recoup those losses. Some states have made steps toward tort reform, and you can even have a cap on judgments. And there are some caps in Georgia for certain things. Now, what do I think? It is just one of those things. Okay, I can make the argument that a jury of 12 individuals can come up with a reasonable value as to losing someone's hand, breaking your back, breaking ribs, this, that, and the other. But there are arguments that we need more tort reform. Now, intentional torts. Keep in mind, intentional torts, just as the word says, requires intent. So let's talk about assault and battery. Now, assault and battery, if you remember, we had He-Man and Leonardo, and He-Man just, beat the heck out of him. Well, let's look at assault first. Assault is the intentional and unexcused threat of immediate harmful or offensive conduct, including words or acts that create another person that a reasonable apprehension of harmful conduct is about to occur. Alright, so look, we got He-Man here, and He-Man has reached back, and he's going forward, and he's getting ready to hit Leonardo. Does Leonardo see it coming? Yes, that's assault, y'all. Battery is that. Okay? Battery is the completion of the assault, unexcused and harmful or offensive physical conduct intentionally performed. Okay? So again, this is assault. He's coming at you, he's coming at you, coming at you. Bam! That's battery. Now what's this? He's coming at you, he's coming at you, coming at you. That ain't nothing. Why? Because he doesn't see it. It's not apparent. Alright, he doesn't know he's about to get hit. But bam! That's battery. Okay? See the difference? Assault, you see it coming. Battery is the contact. Alright? If you don't see it coming, there's no assault. Look at He-Man. He's back here just, kicking and threatening and doing everything else. That's not assault. False imprisonment is intentional confinement or restraint of another person's activities without justification. And you see this a lot with shoplifters, but keep in mind that a store owner may use reasonable force to detain a suspected shoplifter. Now, you can't beat the hell out of them, okay? But you can try to detain them, okay? And be careful with that, because if you go too far, then you're looking at false imprisonment. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, and this to me is just funny. The act must be extreme and outrageous to the point that it exceeds the bounds of decency accepted by society. Indignity or annoyance alone is usually not enough. Now you got to go to a pretty high extreme, and keep in mind you need intent, and you're also going to need damages. Okay, so you got to go so far out there that it's extreme and outrageous. And I'm sure the book has some good examples on that. Defamation. Wrongful hurting of a good person's reputation. Libel is written, slander is spoken. Okay? Now, publication requirement. You got to have publication of this. You can't just sit there and say, well, you know what? I think that Bob is a real no good, low rent. I can't stand him. That's not publication. Publication is that you communicate those bad remarks to another person. Okay? Now, damages. General damages are designed to compensate the plaintiff for non-specific harm such as disgrace or dishonor in the eyes of the community, humiliation, injured reputation, and emotional distress. All right, so you got to have the actual damages. The same thing for slander. Must prove special damages to establish the defendant's liability. Okay, it's the old thing that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, folks, words do hurt, but you got to have the damages there. Now, slander per se. Now, these are things that are just against the law, and you could be charged with slander per se. Now, speaking of a disease, saying someone has AIDS or HIV, leprosy, something crazy like that, you could be looking at slander per se. Improprieties while engaging in a profession or trade. That person's a crook, stuff like that. Saying someone's committed a serious crime. Engaging in sexual misconduct, that's probably one that you want to avoid. Defenses. Now, is it privilege speak? You have absolute privilege and qualified privilege. And absolute privilege is to be done in a judicial proceeding. You can say bad words in court. No one's going to get mad at you. Also, there's a qualified privilege, employee evaluation. You've ever been evaluated by your supervisor, they can say, hey, this is what I thought, yada, 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 because that's an evaluation. Public figures, you have to show actual malice. Invasion of privacy. You can get into a lot of stuff with this, but first off, you got to have a reasonable expectation of privacy, and the invasion must be highly offensive. And you're looking at several different torts when you look at this. Appropriation is the use of another person's name, likeness, or other identifying characteristic without permission. Degree of likeness. I thought this was funny. A cartoon dressed like you does not constitute appropriation. That's actually from case law. Fraudulent misrepresentation. A misrepresentation, material, fact, or condition with knowledge that they're false. Okay, so you can't lie to someone when you're trying to sell something. Now, you can puff, hey, I love this car, yada yada yada, but don't lie. You have to have the intent to induce another party to rely on the misrepresentation. This car gets 200 miles to the gallon. It's going to get you excellent gas mileage. You should buy it. That's lying. Okay. Justifiable reliance. The party that you're trying to sell the car to, in my case, Buzz Off, believes you. Okay, and it has to be justifiable. You have to have damages, and there's a causal connection between the misrepresentation and the injury suffered. So if I say that my car gets 200 miles to the gallon, Buzz Off believes me and is reasonable, he gets 10 miles to the gallon, he has damages in the amount of dollars. Abusive or frivolous litigation. If a party initiated a lawsuit and did so out of malice, all right, so you're doing it simply just to be a no good low rent, and without probable cause ended up losing the suit, the party you sued could come back and sue you for malicious prosecution. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, I could speak on this stuff for a whole semester, but pay attention. This is good stuff for real life.